It's a special episode of Movie Talk today. Papa Nems is in the house. On top of that, we're doing our best movies of 2019 so far, and then we're covering Mark Hamill's recent comments about his choice to leave Star Wars after Episode 9 comes and goes. It's a big show today. This is a big deal. The mid-year time to assess all the movies that we've seen so far, and I get to do it with two very wonderful people. Sinéad Vries is in the house, and so is Greg Alba.
And so is Perri's dad.
He is.
Perri's dad.
Hi, Dad.
So exciting.
Hi, Dad. I hope you enjoy the show.
There's 50 people in the studio right now. So
There's actually more than usual. Not that many.
There's a line, actually, of people that didn't even get in to watch. So
crazy.
An in-demand show. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are
Is
you?
life good? We miss you, both of you, all the time.
Good to be here.
It's good to be here.
You ready to jump into the big one?
Let's
We're
do it.
kicking off the show with our best movies of 2019 so far. We have limited our list today to our top 3. So we're going to go around the table, starting with Sinéad. What is your number 3?
Well, I should start by saying that I've pretty much only seen like 4 movies in theaters this year. So I was only picking from 4 different movies. But I did watch a bunch of crappy Netflix movies.
Well, now I'm going to be curious what the 4th movie was.
I can barely even remember it. But this is so sad because I just haven't made it out to the movies. So my number 3, what was my number 3? Oh, my number 3 is Shazam.
That it is.
Yes, that it is. Which technically I didn't even see at a theater. I saw it at a screening room. That's how little I've been to the movies, but I still love it so much, honestly.
Shazam came very, very close to cracking the top 3 for me.
Yeah.
It was in the top 3 for a very long time. I've just added a couple of things since, but Shazam is up there. Did you like Shazam, Greg?
I did like Shazam, Perri.
I had a feeling. That's one of those
Good
movies
way to throw the question.
that's so feel good
Yeah.
that
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I respect the fact that that's not your kind of superhero movie, but its heart is so much in the right place that I feel like, I don't know, you can at least enjoy it a little bit.
It's not the type of movie that you necessarily like get done watching and you feel like you should sit there and critique it right off the bat because you're like, oh, okay, like there's obviously things wrong with it here and there, but overall, you're right. It made me feel really good. I just enjoyed it.
I saw it at an advanced screening, but there was barely anyone in the crowd. So I was like, no, this movie's all right. But when I watched it a second time with a big crowd, it was a lot more enjoyable. I think feeling the energy of a comedy with an audience makes a huge difference.
The
Actually, everyone
communal
at my theater was
experience is
laughing.
very important,
Yeah.
and I hope everybody out there in the industry knows that, so we never lose all these movies. in
Everything should go to
theaters.
Netflix. We should all watch it from home.
I can't go
Shazam
there
would've
again
been better.
today. No. All right, what's your number 3, Greg?
Dark Phoenix, then Captain Marvel,
Don't even.
and then the episode of Black Mirror with Miley Cyrus would be my top 3 right there. I hope I have all the respect from the Collider audience now.
Hey,
I think
liked
they've
that
already been
episode.
tipped off that you're
This
not.
is my first time meeting Sinead, and now she's mad at me. I'm sorry.
Oh no! They've
okay.
been
I
tipped
get over
off that
things really
that's not
fast.
the list though, because we didn't have any graphics for you.
Oh, yeah. Well,
You're
you have
big
graphics ready to
BSer.
go. I would have to say number 3 for me would be, I saw this last week and it instantly made my top 3, Toy Story 4.
Aw.
Have you seen that yet?
No.
Oh, man. Well,
It's in my top 5 right now.
It's not top 3, though.
It's not top 3, no.
Toy Story 3 made me cry twice. At least, a minimum, it's the funniest movie I've seen all year.
Really? Oh, that's so exciting.
Shazam would definitely be the second funniest movie I've seen, but Toy Story 4 was certainly, I hadn't laughed that hard in such a long
I was
time.
surprised that it got me laughing out loud as much as it did.
It's the funniest Toy Story movie.
And it's also, it's like laughs with purpose too. It's
Yeah.
never a joke for the sake of being a joke. It is
Right.
so well suited to all the
great.
characters. But I lied before. Shazam is actually 6 on my list right now because Toy Story is 5. So solid choice
should've
there.
seen-
Oh
You should've
man,
seen
that's
Toy Story.
that's
Yeah.
exciting actually because I was really nervous about it. Like that's one of those things that I was like, why are they doing this after they made such a big deal about it all being over?
Yeah.
And I literally like with Andy, we were always the same age when those movies came out. So like when he was going away to college, that movie came out this summer after I graduated high school, and it was so sentimental because I was like, that's so crazy because every time that movie came out, he was technically the same age
Right.
or around the same age as I was. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's a perfect way to end it because I'm going away after high school. This is where this movie's
Yeah.
ending. And then they announced Toy Story 4. And I was like, why? Like, you don't need to do this. It's actually a good
They needed to do it. And that's the coolest thing about this franchise, too, is there's so many people who have grown up right in line with Andy.
True.
There's so many, people our age where their parents took them and grew attached to the movies. And this one in particular, I feel like it works well all on its own, which is great because you could bring a really young moviegoer who has never seen any Toy Story movie to this, and they get a complete story, and then hopefully they'll want to then go and revisit 1 through 3.
That's cool. I wonder if I could take Harrison to it. He's a little psycho, but I don't know yet.
Harrison might want a spork.
How long is it? Is it long?
I hope you're prepared to get artsy fartsy with a sporky after, because he's going to want one.
Oh, okay.
And you're going to have to make it.
My girlfriend bought a sporky right afterwards.
That does not surprise me. Wendy
such a great
made a sporky, and it's so impressive. It looks just like that one from the movie. Hers looks like really realistic, though.
She like had to get the sport.
Knowing her, she did it in 5 seconds. Yeah. Wendy has lots of art projects, and she excels at all of them.
What's your number 3, Perri?
My number 3 is Booksmart.
I want to see it so bad.
I feel like you in particular, Sinead, would totally fall for it, but I still can't believe that that's Olivia Wilde's directorial debut, and Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever are just so perfect in that movie, and same thing with Billy Lord for that matter. The entire ensemble. It's just a really great ensemble where you love them all, but like, you know that feeling when you just feel the need after to pick your favorite person because whatever they're going through is right in line with whatever you had experienced in high school. That movie gives you that feeling, and you could take so much of it with you even after it's over. But it's also one of those things where the more you watch it, the funnier it gets every single time.
Really? Comedy usually on rewatch with comedies, I get like bored of them faster, so that's pretty crazy.
Well, I think that's part of what makes some of them become classics. It's like I was thinking about that with Step Brothers recently, because the first time I saw Step Brothers, I'm like, what is this nonsense? I don't like it. And then I started to watch it again with friends and again, and before I knew it, it's like those are lines that I repeat often.
It also helps
and
that
I think
it
this
comes
is going to be the
on
same.
TNT every Sunday, because
Yeah.
I literally just watched it too. But I still laugh my ass
It's
off.
always on. All right, Sinead, number 2 time. What do you got?
All right, number 2, I put Captain Marvel.
That you did.
Okay, I'm like, what? I just gave you this list. And when I sent Perri this list, I was like, I'm so basic right now. But I put Captain Marvel as number 2. I was pleasantly surprised by Captain Marvel. I don't know why I thought I wasn't going to like it as much as I did.
A lot of people thought they...
I don't know. And maybe it was because, I remember. It was because I never fell in love with the trailers. Like, it never grabbed me as much as any of the more recent Marvel movies had, just based on the trailer alone. And I remember the first trailer was so disappointing to me, and I just feel like I was like, oh man, I was just expecting so much more. So I think that helped a lot when I watched it, because I went into it like, keep your expectations at a middle level so that you're not disappointed. And I think I just was so pleasantly surprised. And again, I saw it with an awesome crowd because the audience was so into it, and people were laughing at things that I don't even think were even supposed to be that funny, like laughing their asses off, like hysterically. I was like, But yeah, no, it was really good. I actually really liked it.
I thought it was just fine the first time I watched it. When I rewatched it, I thought it was so much better.
Yeah.
Like, I did a non-spoiler review, and I was like, it's all right. But then when I did the spoiler review, I watched it the second time. I'm like, actually, it's so much better the second time you watch it. Brie Larson's performance to me is still kind of in the middle area, but I think everyone else in the movie and the rest of the movie is pretty damn good, actually. I'm a defender of that movie.
Yeah, I'm very into that movie too. It's right now
it's
after I've seen so much.
I'm a defender. Yeah.
It's probably in like the top tier of my MCU movies, but this year it's like flirting with the bottom of my top 10 at this point as it continues to get bumped down the list. But seen it a couple of times, and I think I liked it the first time I walked out quite a bit, but it got better and better with repeat viewings also. So
how many times have you seen it?
That I've seen, actually, now that I think about it, I've seen most of the ones in my top 10 3 times.
Wow.
I think every single thing that I'm going to list today, I've seen 3 times.
I think that's important, though, especially like when we get so used to putting like this like critic's brain on. It's so important to watch things a second time because it changes so much. Like once you get out of that and you're like, already come to a conclusion about all the things you have issues with. And it's actually, I honestly find it kind of sad because it's very rare I can go into a movie and not automatically be like, the pacing is a little off here. Like I almost annoy myself. I'm like, shut up and just watch the movie and enjoy it.
Sometimes the hype anxiety can interfere with just absorbing a movie on a first time, especially with a movie like Captain Marvel or any of these MCU movies. It's like, you got your goggles on, just ready, like, whoa, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? What's great about this? As opposed to just letting the emotional experience sink in. So I think when you watch a movie like Captain Marvel a second time, it's easier to absorb that.
There's so many factors that come into play. And even when you want to consider that long term, One of my favorite things about just movies in general is that I can watch a movie today and I can watch a movie that same movie 5 years from now. And because I'm in a different place of my life and I've had different experiences, maybe I'll respond to that even more strongly than I did in the past.
And I mean, certain things resonate with you, right? If it's like personal or it just like hits one of your like sore spots, then it's a totally different movie.
It's so true.
True.
All right, Greg, number 2.
My number 2 is a divisive movie, but I loved it. I literally, when I walked out of the theater, some guy I've never met, this wasn't a press screening, it was just a Universal City Walk, and some guy just came up to me to ask me what I thought about it. He has no idea who I am, but he clearly just wanted to rip on the movie. It is Jordan Peele's Us. That movie was... We can't swear here. There's a sign here that says "Watch your language."
I know. I saw that new sign. Keep it clean for the kids.
Because Perry's dad's here, so we have to be really
My
age
dad
appropriate.
does not use any bad words.
He's East Coast, right? Yeah,
Lies.
that makes sense. All right. So yeah, with Us, that is a movie. If you want to talk about a movie with repeat viewing, did you see it?
No, I told you. I haven't literally your guys' list so far, I haven't seen any of those movies.
Really?
I've got a lot of suggestions for you after the show.
I have a list that's building up. We have it written on the fridge so that we don't lose track of all the movies we need to see. But I have to see John Wick before I see any other movies. I'm sorry.
Great one.
But close.
I still haven't seen Forrest Gump, so you're okay. Okay, so with the movie, I really haven't, right?
Really? I thought that was a joke. It is a joke.
No, it's not a joke.
I know. I don't think it's a joke.
Wait, it's not a joke?
It's not a joke.
What are you doing here?
You do
go
need-
home
I'm
and go
Sorry,
watch
I
it.
shouldn't be on Collider Movie Talk anymore. I feel like I have a reputation for not having seen Forrest Gump.
We have to hurry
that I'm
the
just
show
gonna stick
up
to
right
it
now.
Yeah.
That's like your thing.
That's like my thing, I'm
There could be
special
worse
that way.
things, I guess.
Again, it's on TV all the time. You literally have no excuse.
I don't.
Is it one of those things where you're like, oh, it's been too long, it's just not at this point?
Yeah, it's kind of like Steve Carell, the 4-year-old virgin.
So you
It's
just
my
you like the
experience.
reaction at this point.
Yeah, at this point, I'm like, hey, I like the response that I get. But anyway, back to Us, the movie. That movie was a film that I didn't fully understand it the first time I watched it. But when you deep dive into it, and I think when you repeat watch it, and I saw your reviews on it too. I know that you really loved it. It's a film that there's literally every single frame of that movie is important. Every second of that is integral and calculated. And I think it's also a crazy, thrilling, emotional experience. And I love when a movie's this divisive. I can't tell you how many people I heard go, oh, the ending's too expositional. And on the flip side, I heard some people go, I don't understand the ending. So I'm like, which one is it then? Is it too much information or not enough information? And I like a movie that every time you rewatch it, you just understand it more. For me, The Matrix still does that. And Us is a film that definitely does that.
So I'm right in line with you now because Us is my number 2 as well. And with that one, I think you definitely need to watch it over and over again.
Definitely.
But what I think, even though I've already seen it in theaters 3 times, what makes me want to watch it more and more is I think there's, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think there's certain elements of it that make it unclear with intention, that it does leave certain ideas up to you. And I think that no matter how much you dissect it, even if you knew the entire architecture of what he put together, there still is, I'll explain this to you after, but there still is no clear-cut answer for a very specific reason. And that's just one of those movies. When you first were telling your story at the very beginning, I thought you were just going to say that person didn't want to rip on it, that they just wanted to discuss it. And that's what I found with that movie, which is why I loved it so much, is that it's not even just the enjoyment of sitting there and watching it all play out in the moment. It's the conversation that happens after.
Yes.
And the fact that conversation has continued for so long and I still want to be part of it means that it is deserving of the spot on the list.
And it's still a good story. It's not just indulgent in its philosophy or whatever. It's still a good movie with a great emotional experience. Lupita Nyong'o, I think, is the probably the best performance I've seen all year. Like actress, she's the best performance I've seen all year. So yeah, I would.
That's tight.
You got to see it.
You guys just got me like super hyped.
Watch it with subtitles because it's a difficult movie to keep up with.
I love that about Jordan Peele because I feel like he doesn't throw anything in your face and he does leave it up to interpretation. Like you don't actually know what his point is because it could go a couple different ways.
I think I would recommend watching it once, just kind of like sitting back and going with the flow, going along with the action, and then watching it with that, with that eye out for details the second time around. I feel like that's the most satisfying way to go about it, or at least that's what worked for me. Before we move on to our number 1 picks, let's check in with the live chat. Rhythm oriented, sorry, said A24 is quietly killing it with Climax, very good movie, High Life, and especially Under the Silver Lake. And then we also have Jenna James, who said Brightburn is in my honorable mention with Always Be My Maybe, Shazam, Booksmart, and The Perfection. A lot of love for Netflix right there. Mm-hmm. Time for number one. I mean, it's the same across the board. Do we want to just attempt to shout it in unison?
Sure.
Wait. Are we saying the whole thing? Or are we just saying
No, we're saying the whole thing. Okay. Ready? After three. Like, I'll say three and then say it. 1, 2, 3.
Avengers Endgame!
That was good, you guys. Good job.
Yeah, it was like right on point there.
Yeah.
I can't say I was all that surprised when you guys sent your list and that was at the top of it, but it's really freaking cool to me that one, that is a great movie all on its own, but I can't really remove the fact that this is a cinematic event that we might never experience ever again in our lifetime. And the fact that they've put so much into that franchise and it's made so much money and actually earned it. Like, there were just so many elements of Avengers Endgame that might not have hit like the necessary satisfaction level. But I feel like with every single character that was part of that franchise, they landed in such a great, unforgettable spot in Endgame that it made me feel like, one, I had a satisfying conclusion, but just made me all the more thrilled about everything else coming our way in the next few years.
Yeah,
I'm so thrilled.
I mean, it was one of those things. I watched it 2 days in a row, so I had seen it like Thursday night at an advanced screening, and then I saw it Friday morning in the theater.
It's a Friday.
But I saw it in advanced screening, and I'm not going to lie, like, I had issues with it the first time I saw it. And I wasn't disappointed at all. I still love Infinity War more, and I think that doesn't mean that I'm not obsessed with Endgame. It just shows how obsessed I am with Infinity War. Because Infinity War was one of those movies that I could not, like, I was emotional over how good it was. Endgame, I haven't cried that hard in a movie since, I'm not even kidding, like Marley and Me. I think Marley and Me, like, effed me up for like a whole week. I was locked in my room just sobbing. But Endgame, I was crying so hard. And even at one point, my sister looked at me and she was like, what are you doing?
Endgame is a good F you up cry. Marley and Me, at least in my opinion, is a highly manipulative F you up cry that is not allowed to be played anywhere in my vicinity whatsoever.
Absolutely. It's like you feel like you're sinking into the ground and dying, and Coldplay is like silently or quietly singing right behind you. Like, literally, that's how it is. But Endgame was like it was like this feeling of one, like, satisfaction of getting all of these things tied up, but also like gratitude for however long I've been watching this, like over a decade. And then just like this weird recognition that this franchise has been a part of my life for so long. And then I think back to when I first got into Marvel movies and being in high school and like how different my life was back then versus now. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's really been that many MCU movies. Yeah. And we're actually about to end the MCU as we know it. It's like, who knows what the future is, but it just got me super excited. Like you said, I'm so hyped and I'm ready for like all fresh stuff now because I feel so satisfied.
I mean, going off what you're talking about, that's one thing I love about the way they close this chapter with Avengers, because it's at the point now, like, I don't know what's coming next. I've heard great things about Far From Home. I watched your Collider movie talk reactions episode. And so
I watched your Collider movie talk show.
We're so informative always.
So I've heard great things about it, but to me, I'm like, even if, let's say Phase 4 just happens to suck, like the worst case scenario, they'll still have that arc leading up to Endgame as a definitive MCU thing. And for me, Endgame gave me everything I was hoping for, yet so much more. I love the tone. I love the mood. I love the build up to the finale. I did cry. I watched it 3 times, and I did cry like every single time.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
I don't think I'm going to watch that re-release, though. It's a little too... At this point, I'm like... I was a little tired by the 3rd time I watched it.
I'm tempted, but I vowed to myself, because after I finished my 3rd viewing of Endgame, I wanted to go back and do my MCU rewatch. So I need to earn my next viewing of Endgame by finishing all the... I know, I've got a little ways to go.
That kid who's already seen it like 200 times, he's trying to set a record.
Oh, boy.
I think he has.
Doesn't surprise me.
Well, he actually has, but he's trying to set like some sort of he's at like the Guinness World Book of Records or something. Like he's trying to set like a Guinness World Record.
Good for him.
For watching Endgame so many times. He's literally seen it 200 times, and in my head I was like, I know at this point you're just going to the theater and sleeping. Like there's no way you're still watching that movie.
No way you're like so absorbed into that movie. Yeah, that's impossible.
Oh, that's a lot of hours. But good on him if that makes him happy. We want to know what makes you happy. Chime in the comments section. Share your favorite movies of 2019 so far right there.
Sure.
Now we've got some Collider programming to tell you about. Here's what you got coming your way this weekend.
Hey everyone, John Roca here, the host of Collider Mailbag. A new episode drops every Saturday and Sunday in your face and in your ears, answering the questions from you fans about the world of entertainment, film, and television. Me and great guests from our sphere do the best to answer your questions from Twitter, from Instagram, and of course, email as well, every Saturday and Sunday.
In addition to Mailbag, if you go over to the Collider Interview YouTube channel right now, you could see all of our amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con panels that Coy and I got to host. There's so much great content there, pretty much hours worth. So check that out after you watch Movie Talk today. Story... I know, we don't produce enough ever.
It's like
10
we don't
videos
just
a
hang
day
around not doing anything all day. It's crazy.
You guys are
like, are you even working
Are you
here
doing
or
anything?
what?
What
are
are
you
all
guys
these
even
employees
doing?
here for? I don't understand.
I'm always looking for more Collider video
I'm just
episodes
like
of something, anything.
10
We all
notifications
just
in my
sit here
Gmail?
and
Not
admire
enough.
the studio and
Yeah,
just
like
never
the
use
YouTube
it.
thing that keeps coming down. I'm like, oh gosh.
Notification squad. Always there. All right, story number 2 is the Mark Hamill comment. So at the Child's Play premiere, AP Entertainment spoke to him and they asked, is this really going to be your last Star Wars appearance? And here's how the conversation went from there. Hamill said, I sure hope so, and laughed. AP asked why, and he said, well, because I had closure in the last one. The fact that I'm involved in any capacity is only because of that peculiar aspect of the Star Wars mythology where if you're a Jedi, you get to come back and make a curtain call as a Force ghost. So, I mean, unless I'm interpreting this wrong, that right there confirms he's back as a Force ghost, no?
I mean, that's what I took from it.
What else would he be?
I mean, that's pretty much what we were all predicting. But does it surprise you to hear his reaction to the question about him leaving the franchise
Say it
after
in the
this
tone
movie?
that he said it.
I feel like you've watched it more recently. You could probably mimic it better than I did.
I don't really remember.
I don't know.
I had a note of he doesn't seem happy.
Yeah.
Like not like a I'm proud of anything at this point. It wasn't. I mean, I'm sure he is. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying in those like 4 words. It wasn't like I sure hope so. It wasn't like that kind of I sure hope so.
Well, he's
you know?
tired, and he's also whoa. Is that the new intern Johnny screwing things up? Oh, that's Perry's dad. That's okay. Never mind. All right. So, yeah, when I watched, when you see Mark Hamill behaving that way, I'm like, well, he came back to Star Wars in the time of Twitter and the time of social media. It's like he's always had to deal with fandom for the past like few decades or whatever. But I can't imagine that after you come back with The Last Jedi, and even though I think he does an amazing job in that movie.
I honestly do too.
I thought he was great. I loved his performance.
I agree.
I love the writing of the character too. And I know there's a lot of like not my Luke thing going around. I just think it can be overwhelming, and you want to get away from it. And I think he has a unique career in voice acting. I like what he did with Chucky, and I like the movie. Mm-hmm. I know you were kind of.
I just don't think that
it was fully utilized.
What they gave him let him use his abilities as much as he could have.
Sure, but it's like the voice work as the Joker, a lot of his TV appearances. I just get the impression the guy's tired, man.
Yeah, and like also like
I
wouldn't if he really feels that way and he really does. I wouldn't hate on him for that at all.
No, not at all.
Dude, we've gotten so much from him. Like we've been blessed and gifted with so much Star Wars like magic from him. So it's also like if he wants to be done, then like let the man rest.
I think they all want to be done at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, not just because of noise on Twitter and things like that, but you do one of these movies and it just sucks you in for how many years of your life, and especially when you look at his career, and he's a creative force well beyond Star Wars. So the good thing for him right now is by pushing this aside, at least in terms of being in another feature film, now he could do even more voice acting than he was doing in the last couple of years. So good on him for making that decision if that's what makes him happy.
Yay.
All right, before we have to say goodbye, let's grab one of these Twitter questions here. There are so many that I want to ask, but I have to point this one out from Zeno Hour, who said, THR is reporting Kaylee Spaney got cast as the lead in the Craft remake. Seems like Dorian has confirmed that is true. She is so talented, dude.
Who is she?
Bad Times at the El Royale. She plays Dakota Johnson's younger sister.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
And she was also one of the leads opposite John Boyega in Pacific Rim Uprising.
Oh,
And
really?
she was in, sorry, now I'm just like rattling off her entire resume.
Where was she from,
on the
Perri?
basis
yeah. What is her social security number?
on the basis of sex. She played Felicity Jones's daughter in that. And
Okay.
she's great in every single thing I've seen her in. So every single movie that gets her in it,
Yeah.
I will pay attention to.
Well, then, okay.
Yes.
Let's go pay to watch The Craft.
All right, let's see if we can get one more about Halloween in there, because in case you guys missed it, Jeff Snyder broke a Halloween scoop on Collider.com. Apparently, the movie is going into production later this year, and we are expecting it to hit an October 2020 release date.
Sure.
We've got a question from Alan George. Do you guys think Halloween 2 will be like Resurrection? H2O reinvigorated the franchise just like last year's Halloween.
Yeah,
No.
this sequel is going to be the proper number 2 again. They're just going to completely disregard the last Halloween movie.
Well, I brought this up on a recent movie talk, I think, but when I was talking to David Gordon Green when that movie first came out, we had a little bit of a spoiler discussion, and he did talk about, like pulling an idea completely like...
Just reboot it again.
Like out of left field. Yeah, he said, what if I did? You could tell that he was intrigued by like crazy unexpected ideas, and one of the things he did throw out there was like, what if I turned it all on its head again? I don't think that Blumhouse would actually do that, especially
no.
when you wound up in a place where you had like 3 super strong leading ladies that you actually wanted to keep following. So
Right.
I have a feeling that's the path they're heading down.
But I would respect it. Even if it did go that way, I would still respect it.
I think I would too.
I would be like, cool. Like it's not like your by the numbers remake. I kind of like that.
Yeah, and I like that movie a lot. I
As
thought that
did
first
I.
one was pretty cool. Yeah.
I always applaud trying something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's all the time we've got today. We are done with our best of 2019 episode thus far. Later in the year, you're going to get another one, and that's going to be our best of the full year. Sinead,
Yes.
Greg, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us
Thank you.
today. Cody in the booth today, thanks for your help. Dorian in the chat, as always, you rock. Guys, do not forget to like and share this episode of Movie Talk. Tune in for Collider Mailbag this weekend, and then we'll be back right here at this desk, 3 p.m. PT Live on Monday for a brand new episode.